The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, 1892. Episode 9, The Engineer's Thumb. Welcome back, Detective. After witnessing Holmes save Helen Stoner from her murderous stepfather's serpentine weapon, you might think you've seen the extremes of human cruelty. But today's case will show you that greed can drive criminals to industrial-scale violence, where mechanical precision meets barbaric brutality. Have you ever wondered what kind of secret operation would be worth mutilating an innocent engineer to protect? Prepare yourself for one of Holmes's most harrowing investigations, where a missing thumb leads to a counterfeiting conspiracy so dangerous that its perpetrators will stop at nothing to silence witnesses. Picture yourself on a summer morning in 1889, when the peaceful routine of Baker Street is shattered by urgent pounding on the front door. You rush downstairs with Holmes and Watson to find a pale young man swaying on the doorstep, his right hand wrapped in blood-soaked bandages and his eyes wide with the shock of recent trauma. "Please," he gasps, barely able to stand. "Dr. Watson, they told me at the hospital you lived here. I need help, not just medical, but I think I've stumbled into something terrible, something that nearly cost me my life." His voice trembles with the aftermath of terror and pain. Watson immediately guides the wounded man to a chair, his medical instincts taking over. "I'm Dr. Watson, and this is Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Let me examine that hand first, then you can tell us what happened." As Watson carefully unwraps the bandages, you see the horrifying evidence of deliberate violence. The man's thumb has been severed cleanly, as if by some mechanical device. "My name is Victor Hatherley," the young man explains through gritted teeth, as Watson tends to his wound. "I'm a hydraulic engineer, and last night I accepted what seemed like a routine consulting job. But it turned into a nightmare that I barely escaped with my life. Think about this, Detective. What kind of routine engineering job would result in such deliberate mutilation? What secret could be worth protecting through such extreme violence against an innocent professional?" Holmes studies Hatherley with intense interest, already sensing that this case will involve far more than a simple industrial accident. "Mr. Hatherley, before you begin your account, let me observe that your clothes show traces of clay and brick dust. Your boots are scuffed as if you've been running across rough terrain, and there's a distinctive smell of machine oil about you. You've clearly been somewhere with heavy industrial equipment." Most tellingly, Holmes continues examining the engineer's bandaged hand. "This injury was inflicted by a hydraulic press. The edges are too clean for any other tool. Someone used industrial machinery as a weapon against you. Now tell us everything that happened, from the very beginning." Hatherley's story unfolds like something from a fever dream. 2 days ago, a well-dressed gentleman called at my office. He introduced himself as Colonel Lysander Stark and offered me 50 guineas for a single night's work, more money than I usually earn in months. The job seemed simple. Examine a hydraulic press at his country estate and provide a report on its condition. But there were strange conditions, Hatherley continues, his voice growing more troubled. I was to tell no one about the job, travel to the estate alone at night, and speak to no one except Colonel Stark himself. When I expressed concerns about these unusual requirements, he doubled my fee to 100 guineas. Holmes interrupts with sharp attention. 100 guineas for a simple equipment inspection. Mr. Hatherley, that should have been your first warning that this was no ordinary engineering consultation. What did this Colonel Stark look like? Describe him in detail." "Tall, thin, with pale skin, and the coldest gray eyes I've ever seen," Hatherley recalls with a visible shudder. "His face was sharp and angular, like it had been carved from stone. But what struck me most was his manner. He spoke softly, almost politely, but there was an underlying menace that made my skin crawl. The journey to the mysterious estate provides crucial clues. The carriage ride took over an hour through countryside I didn't recognize. The windows were covered, supposedly to protect trade secrets, but I suspect it was to prevent me from identifying the location. When we finally arrived, I saw a large, isolated house surrounded by tall trees. Colonel Stark led me to a small building behind the main house, where I found the most powerful hydraulic press I'd ever seen," Hatherley continues. "But here's what puzzled me. The press was designed for compressing materials, yet there were no raw materials anywhere to be seen. The entire setup made no industrial sense. Think carefully about this detail, detective. What legitimate purpose could such a powerful press serve in complete isolation, with no apparent materials to process? What illegal activity might require the ability to compress objects with tremendous force? Holmes's eyes gleam with understanding. Mr. Hatherley, I believe you discovered a counterfeiting operation. Such a press would be perfect for creating fake coins or compressing paper into convincing currency. That would explain both the secrecy and the generous payment for your silence. But the real horror began when I examined the press more closely. Hatherley continues, his voice dropping to a whisper. Hidden beneath the machinery, I found traces of what looked like human blood. Fresh blood, as if the press had recently been used for something other than its intended industrial purpose. The realization that he had stumbled into an operation that used murder to protect its secrets filled Hatherley with immediate terror. I tried to leave immediately, claiming the press was in perfect working order, but Colonel Stark's manner changed completely. The polite facade disappeared, replaced by something utterly ruthless. Mr. Hatherley, he said with deadly calm, I'm afraid you've seen too much. We cannot allow you to leave here with knowledge of our operations. That's when I realized I was trapped with people who would kill without hesitation to protect their criminal enterprise. Holmes leans forward with intense interest. How did you escape? And how did you sustain this injury? Hatherley's account of his desperate flight will demonstrate the lengths to which criminals will go to silence witnesses. Colonel Stark and his associates, there were 3 of them, decided to eliminate me using their own machinery, Hatherley explains with horror. They dragged me to the hydraulic press and activated it, intending to crush me completely. I managed to pull back at the last second, but the descending plate caught my thumb and severed it cleanly. In the confusion that followed, I broke free and ran, he continues. The house was larger than I'd realized, a maze of rooms and corridors. I could hear them pursuing me, shouting orders in what sounded like German. Finally, I crashed through a window and escaped into the surrounding woods. The chase through the darkness reveals the true scale of the criminal operation. As I ran through the trees, I looked back and saw the entire building was on fire. Whether it was an accident caused by my escape or a deliberate attempt to destroy evidence, I'll never know. But the flames lit up the sky for miles. Holmes's analysis pieces together the full scope of the conspiracy. Mr. Hatherley, you stumbled into one of the most sophisticated counterfeiting operations I've ever encountered. Colonel Stark and his associates were likely producing fake currency on an industrial scale, using that hydraulic press to create coins and compress paper money that would fool casual inspection. The blood you found suggests you weren't their first victim, Holmes continues grimly. Other engineers, other potential witnesses, may have been silenced permanently. Your escape was nothing short of miraculous. But Holmes's investigation faces a crucial obstacle. The fire you witnessed has undoubtedly destroyed all evidence of their operation. By the time we reach the site, there will be nothing left but ashes and twisted metal. The criminals have covered their tracks completely. Watson raises the obvious question, but surely we can track down Colonel Stark and his associates. Hatherley can provide descriptions, and such an elaborate operation must have left other traces. Holmes's response reveals the sophisticated nature of professional criminals. Dr. Watson, Colonel Stark is undoubtedly a false identity, part of an elaborate deception designed to protect the real criminals, Holmes explains. Professional counterfeiters operate through multiple layers of false names, forged documents, and carefully constructed backgrounds. By now, they've probably assumed entirely new identities. Holmes's visit to the site of the mysterious estate confirms his worst fears. Nothing remains but a smoldering ruin surrounded by acres of scorched earth. The criminals have erased every trace of their operation, leaving only Hatherley's testimony as evidence that it ever existed. The building was completely destroyed, Holmes reports upon his return. Local residents reported seeing the fire, but claimed to know nothing about who owned the property or what activities took place there. The entire operation has vanished as if it never existed. The investigation reveals the international scope of the criminal conspiracy. Based on Mr. Hatherley's account of hearing German voices, I believe we're dealing with a European counterfeiting ring with connections across multiple countries. Such organizations can relocate their operations quickly when threatened with exposure. Holmes's final analysis provides little satisfaction but important warnings. Mr. Hatherley, your ordeal has exposed a criminal enterprise of considerable sophistication and ruthlessness. While we cannot bring these specific criminals to justice, your testimony will help authorities recognize similar operations in the future. Most importantly, Holmes continues, you've learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of accepting offers that seem too good to be true. 100 guineas for a simple consultation was a clear warning sign that you were being drawn into something illegal and dangerous. The case concludes with Hatherley's gradual recovery and return to his engineering practice, though he bears permanent physical and psychological scars from his encounter with industrial-scale criminality. His missing thumb serves as a constant reminder of how close he came to complete destruction. Holmes reflects on the broader implications. This case demonstrates how modern criminal enterprises operate with the same efficiency and ruthlessness as legitimate businesses. They use advanced technology, professional organization, and systematic violence to protect their illegal profits. The counterfeiters who nearly killed Mr. Hatherley represent a new breed of criminal, educated, well-funded, and internationally connected, Holmes observes. They pose a far greater threat to society than individual thieves or murderers because they can corrupt entire economic systems. Years later, Holmes would occasionally receive reports of similar counterfeiting operations discovered across Europe, each showing the hallmarks of the same professional criminal organization. Though justice was never achieved in Hatherley's specific case, his courage in speaking out helped expose a threat to legitimate commerce worldwide. The engineer's thumb case serves as a stark reminder that in an age of industrial progress, criminals adapt their methods to exploit new technologies for illegal purposes. The same machines that can build civilization can be turned into weapons of destruction by those who choose greed over ethics. So tell me, Detective, did you recognize the signs that Hatherley was being drawn into a counterfeiting operation? What does this terrifying case teach us about the relationship between technological progress and criminal innovation? And how do we balance the benefits of industrial advancement with protection against those who would misuse such power? This harrowing mystery reminds us that behind every technological marvel lurk those who would pervert its purpose for criminal gain, and that sometimes survival depends on recognizing when legitimate opportunity has become deadly trap. Join me next time as we investigate The Adventure of the Noble Bachelor, a case where a society wedding's mysterious disappearance leads Holmes into the complex world of international romance, hidden identities, and the collision between old-world traditions and new-world realities.